As a big up for Carefest video production, you see.
Careface
You know them, you know we
CVP.
see a sky high. No matter how them try to inspire high. Boom, boom, boom.
What we're doing today is one, talk to each artist to see where you are in terms of your career, and two, what we can do to bring it to that level, and three, to see if you're ready to be showcased in Jamaica. Because remember now that this RastaFest showcase is representing the brand, the RastaFest brand, right? So when we take artists to Jamaica, we're saying that this is the best of the best, or some of the best of the best from Canada, who have gone through the process already. We have gone through, a lot of artists have already gone through this, so that's their fifth time, right? This year, okay, so normally the conference is in November. They've moved it to February, Reggae month, right? Last year we took down, Maurice Martin went down, the all-female band went down, Resolution with Penny, they went down. And it's with this conference, you meet a lot of people. Out of this conference last year, Resolution is now touring Marcy Griffith. Now, now you could find an artist like a Marcy Griffith or a big name artist to listen, we want to work with a particular artist. So last year, that was good for Resolution band. Now they're doing some shows, a tour with Marcy Griffith, right? The year before, Chelsea Stewart went down twice with us. So many artists, who else? Every year is different group this year. Next year, because it's going to be done during Reggae month, we're going to do a lot of different things, right? For example, we are also doing a lot of work with Mighty Diamonds. We do booking for them, we do marketing promotion for Canada. We also be doing some work with them outside of Canada. Mighty Diamond is our, obviously is a big name artist that we're working with. We're doing documentaries with them and so forth. February 1st, we're going to kick off Reggae month with Mighty Diamonds. They're celebrating 50 years to the business, right? What I want to do today though is, one, get Maurice to talk about himself. I've known him for a very long time. He did a lot of work in Jamaica. Now he's back in Toronto. And we did a lot more of these kind of music education workshops because I personally think that reggae artists need this kind of workshop. And I find that
You don't know, say it's Lava, represent Rastafest. Big up Masani every time, you don't know.
it's easier to just go to a studio and say you're a singer or buy some equipment and say you're a producer. But then I've rejected more artists for RastaFest than I've even accepted. There's not one person in this room I've worked at RastaFest before. Because I do all the bookings, right? We get a lot of requests from a lot of artists to be on RastaFest. Every year we raise the bar. Every single year we raise the bar because we're trying to make the festival be, when you come to RastaFest, you're talking the best of the best, right? We used to do the RastaFest competition. For 4 years we did that, we stopped doing that. We don't do that anymore. What we find is that people are cheating. There's an online thing where you get you submit your video and you get your fans to vote for you, right? Which I thought was great because again, at least you have a fan base and figure that if 2,000 people vote for you, figure that for sure you have 2,000 people who support what you're doing. What we found was that some artists were using the app to increase their numbers, which we didn't even know that. Yes, it seemed surprised, I was surprised. And how we found that out is somebody who have no connection with no arts at all, phone Miss Masani, I like what you're doing, I know you have good intention, but the artists were cheating. And what she did was, she watched the numbers. Like for example, I did it after midnight. So say for example at 11:30 you have one artist say about 1,000 people. By the next morning it's 2,000. And that's how she knew that they were cheating, and that's how I knew they were cheating. And then what we do now, because we don't even handle the competition, right? We have a third party who handle the competition first. We have a party called Snap newspaper, right? So this is a white company that have no skin in the game, they don't care about nothing, they just support what we're doing. So when we tell them about what was happening, they went to the back office, the back room, you know, and they could see what happened. So we stopped that competition. So it make it even harder now to get on RastaFest. So when I hear comments, oh, it's every year the same artists perform at RastaFest, we try our best to get a lot of artists on the festival, but then every time we do that, things happen where, okay, fine, then we might as well scrap this, right? So in terms of RastaFest next year, we're doing this showcase now in Jamaica first. So the idea is we work with some artists, we take it to Jamaica in February, you perform in Jamaica, you guarantee at least 2-3 performances in front of a nice industrial crowd. Out of that experience, then now we can move it on to the next level. The next level would be 1, Rastafest in August 15th at Black Creek Pioneer Village, and 2, we're going across Canada with Mighty Diamonds, and we're going to take a few local artists. We already have Vancouver confirmed, we have Edmonton confirmed, we have Calgary confirmed, Ottawa, Montreal, Niagara Falls was confirmed today, and we have a small city called Delhi, and we have Hamilton. So in total we're talking 10 cities.
Talking about 2 of us.
Exactly. So for 1 month, going to about 10 Canadian cities, with the Mighty Diamonds as a headliner, and then maybe 1 or 2 Toronto artists, right? Obviously we're excited about this. It's never been done before, all new, very good for the brand and everything. But then, for us to take Toronto artists to these events, we have to make sure it's the best of the best. So this is where now artist development comes in, and see what each artist is doing individually to help themselves, meaning that, okay, fine, we need to see a social media presence. And I know what is happening out there, because I mean my ears are, you know, glued to the ground. I know what's happening out there. I know who's doing what. You know what I mean? I know if you're getting an airplay, for example. I know if you're a social media presence. I know if you're doing shows. I know these things because you know, we have feelers there, so we know what is going on up there. So for the point I'm making is this: for us to work with you and bring it to that level where we could be opening for Mighty Diamonds, for example, our Taurus Riley, our Damon Marley, our products, we want to make sure that it's the best of the best, because again, it's also a brand that we're trying to elevate at that international level. Okay? So I'm going to stop here now, and then let Maurice talk about himself and then after he does all that, then we're going to go around the room and talk to each artist. So we have 1, 2, your artist is not here yet, he's on his way. So we have 4 artists here.
Hi, this is Maurice Gordon. Big up to CVP Careface Video Production. One love, give thanks.
Hello again, my name is Maurice Gordon. I'm a guitar player first. I'm a teacher. This is actually my school. I went to York. And before I came to York, I've been involved in community music programs in Toronto for years. From Regent Park, Christian Bigfoot Park, after school music program. So there are quite a few young people, well, young then, that I used to be teaching here in Toronto. Because one of the biggest problems in Toronto is having black students getting black teachers. The proportion is actually terrible. Most of the students that are studying here, when I was here actually, I didn't have any black teachers except for 1 class. And that was a man named Percy Anderson. And I had a class called Caribbean in Transition, and that was one of my best courses ever in school, because it actually taught me about my Caribbean experience. My track record there is probably teaching more of the students that are coming out and playing with the reggae bands right now than anybody else. And being successful. I'm not saying the other people weren't training them, but my approach taught them more about modern music than anybody else prior to that. Jamaica is still colonialized, and so a lot of students end up learning classical music, whereas my approach was modern music. And that involved both jazz and rock and pop and all that. And that approach and that type of teaching is still short in Jamaica. So I can point out to any number of the bands where I have students in it. I can call anybody in Chronic's band right now that I taught, at least 2 or 3. And that is on the guitar and the bass, even on the drums and other instruments and keyboards. I currently play with Jay Douglas. You guys know Jay Douglas? Jay Douglas and his All-Stars. I play guitar and sometimes I play bass in his band. And one of the best students from Jamaica just came up. He's staying here and he's going to Humber College. So when he came up, I just gave him the bass chair and I went back to guitar because that's his first instrument, although he plays other instruments as well. But one of the problems that we experience a lot in Jamaica with regard to musicians and these type of artist development is that not enough people come out to see them, obviously. A lot of times we are preaching to the converted. It's unfortunate, and the same thing happens here. So, first of all, for you being here, that is the first step forward. For me as a player, I got 3 CDs out. Instrumental music is my primary thing. I've written vocal songs. In my early days here, I used to be involved with a band called Phase 4 from way back in the day. And another band called Joshua, which is a reggae band. And I played with Lazo and played on his Juno nominated album. I played 1 or 2 tracks. I've recorded with Jimmy Cliff and Mutabaruka as well, among others in Jamaica.
This is Ras Morgan representing for the youth them, and them need to know say reggae music is the game. Check me out on Facebook. Ras Morgan is the name.
But one of the biggest problems for singers and aspiring artists is that they don't play an instrument. Unfortunately, a lot of reggae artists who play an instrument eventually put that instrument down when they start to become stars. They seem to think that it's not the greatest thing. I've taught a ton of guitar. I never see her with a guitar on stage. I had a lot of young artists named even Ellie B coming out right now, working with, who's he working with? I've seen him with, what he is? They rotate so much, but he's with Damien Marley as well right now. Talented dude, plays keyboard, sings, writes songs, and everything. But I saw him sending out his media video. I mean, he's going for the whole hot contemporary image and everything. So immediately he puts on his guitar. And he might pick up a solo, pick up his guitar and go out there and play something. But other than that, he's decked out in the whole dancehall thing, and that includes no instrument. Part of the problem when musicians or singers have issues is that they are not able to connect with an instrument. So the first thing, if you want to be a singer, I advise you start getting comfortable, get some training on the guitar or the piano. I don't suggest the bass or drums because you want to be up front, but certainly the guitar or the piano because you have more room to move around. If you want more freedom, the guitar. If you're going to stay in a sit-down position, the keyboard. If you still want to learn to play and not necessarily run around with the instrument, you learn the keyboard. It is the best instrument, an orchestral instrument to learn to play, and you have to put in the time. But also when you connect to a note, and somebody say you sing an A, you know what, you can go on the piano and go do that because it's not tangible, and when you play an instrument, it's tangible, right? So that's very important, I think. Oh, by the way, recently I started working with Michael St. George, dub poet out of Hamilton. But we were supposed to do a CD showcase, and he had some serious health issues, so he had to pull that out. In fact, I was supposed to go on a cruise, and I chose to stay here, but then that got canceled, and I didn't get the cruise for 1 week. Health issues. I think he has nice things. I used to work with Lillian Allen here. You guys know Lillian Allen?
Dub poet.
Lillian Allen, and what's his name when he used to do Clifton Jones when he used to do poetry, and there was another one.
Devon Arden.
Yeah, Devon Arden.
Oh yeah, those are the dub poets.
I used to work with all those guys, and I saw Devon a couple of months ago, and it was like a reunion. And a couple of the guys from the old other reggae band, Truth and Rights, Kwame Williams and I went to school together, and we played a couple of months ago. He's a percussionist. But when I was playing with a lot of these guys, I also ended up training them while I was playing with them, right? Because when I was with Phase 4, I was the guy that was writing most of the songs that we were doing at the time, and got them introduced to reggae because it's mostly Canadian guys. But I was starting my writing and stuff. Although back then we were all mostly everybody was into funk.
You should go Patreon. You don't know. I want to pick up Masani. I want to pick up RastaFest. You should go Patreon. Make sure you check me out on social media. www.patreonmusic.com. Also check out my clothing line, fearlesscrownclothing.com. Clothing to motivate, inspire, and uplift you. Remember, nothing can break you down.
There's the whole issue of the Canadian market, which is, of course, racialized. And the music that we're playing is outside represented primarily by not represented by us. I mean, even with the satellite band, it's only one black guy in the band, and at the same time, it's a very pseudo white English sounding reggae. Mind you, personally, we have to decide that if you're going to produce music for Canada, you can't produce music for Jamaica. If you're producing music for Jamaica, it might secondarily come back here. In my assessment, Canadians are not into the same attitudes and things that we are into in Jamaica. And unfortunately, it means that you have to sanitize the music in some ways. Nothing against that, but the fact is, Canadians are not into rebel music. Canadian culture is very different from Jamaica. And if it's, as usual, brought from a white perspective, it is greater accepted. I mean, why is Snow Informer one of the biggest selling things? Why was it? Well, what he was doing was delivering what we were trying to deliver in Jamaica, but he was brought in a way that they could digest it a lot easier, and he had white skin. Although he was culturally immersed in our culture, he was not immersed enough for him to be seen as black culturally. Or even people like Eminem, who's some of the biggest selling artists. They're studying what we're doing hardcore, but because their skin is white, and white people can relate to that, they do buy that more. And so if you're in Canada trying to produce music for that market, if you're producing it at the level that Jamaica accepts it, then you're really gonna have a hard time here getting it to that thing, because the largest market here is the black white people. The largest market for the Jamaican music, the black, how much?
Jade Faith representing. Yes, I'm gonna big up Masani production.
How much of the music that we're producing is being consumed by black people in this market? You understand? Mm-hmm. So it's either we're gonna make it for the people that will consume it, the white people, and so we have to make it that way for them to understand it, or we're gonna have to make it for the hardcore Jamaicans, but that needs to be broken from Jamaica, personally. And if I produce my reggae band right now, and I'm really gonna want the sound of Jamaica. Unless I'm gonna get something here that is sanitized and get some white guy and some white girls come up front and sing it, and they can't really sing it the way they're supposed to, no matter how our culture is. I mean, even with the Wailers, at one point in time, they've had so many international people sing to the band, because that's the dream of a lot of people. They had an Israeli guy singing in the band, the Wailers, for a while, and he knows all about Marley songs. They had the guy called Gary from, I can't remember his name, the other band that was singing with them for a while, and he's Jamaican. But then they've been through so many other people singing with the band. Nobody can or has done it or delivered like Bob Marley. I work with Junior Mervin. Junior Mervin is a guitar player for Bob Marley for years. And the current guitar that I have is a gift from him. But I can't really sit down and listen to Junior singing reggae tunes, because he's got an English accent. You guys know Junior? He's playing the guitar solo on Eden. And I mean, I won't tell you about all the negative stuff, but I had the opportunity. He bought me a guitar, and I went to, he paid for my ticket to go to Washington to pick it up in Maryland, and took care of me like fantastic. I had a Bob Marley experience sharing that, because he kind of worships me as his guitar teacher. And so everything he says to me bigs me up. He comes online and praises me and says he's going to buy me a guitar. And I took it with a grain of salt, but eventually he brought me up and gave me a guitar.
Yeah,
It's your girl Fancy Lady here representing, and I just want to big up SistaFest and RastaFest. I'm an artist. You can find all my music on any platforms, and I'm also on Instagram as Fancy Lady. So check me out, check my music out, and have a good one.
Really and truly, when black artists in America complain that they're not selling as much as the white artists, because 50 million black people are not going to spend their 10% of the money to buy that, while 10% of the white people buying that, you're gone beyond the population of black people. 10% of the Americans is over 30 million, all right? And where 10% of the black people that the population is there is a lot less than that. And they can get their music in another way. So I've been sitting down trying to figure out how do we get that, our music, marketed. Now remember, when Bob Marley and Wailers came out and got the recording contract to go to Chris Blackwell, what they brought from Jamaica was totally remixed and added. The clavinet was added. That wasn't added in Jamaica. The guitar solo, one of the greatest guitar solos on Concrete Jungle, was added in America because they had to make the music a palatable. And it still never worked, remember, because those guys who were recording that, overdone that, thought it was jungle music. And I recently learned that the keyboard player that added all that organ said he never created those parts. Bob Marley sang all those parts to him to show the real genius of Bob Marley. Alright? He sang those parts to the guy. But that was also the influence of James Brown, in my opinion. Because if any of you guys ever seen the movie about James Brown, hey, if you listen to the music in that, there's a lot of influence from that in Bob Marley's music. Believe it or not. And reggae never really became reggae until Lee Scratch Perry took them under his wing. He was the one, because prior to that album, Soul Rebel, Bob Marley and the Wailers sounded like imitation American music, because their biggest influence was Curtis Mayfield and the Impression.
This is Oriya Smart and the girls have been planting. Rastafest, big up yourself. Saying.
In fact, most of you don't know this. The influence of Curtis Mayfield was so powerful that the biggest reggae anthem is half written by him. One Love is not written by Bob Marley all the way. Did you guys know that?
I heard that.
The song One Love is called One Love / People Get Ready. People Get Ready is one of the most influential songs and greatest songs in the world. Bob Marley, in his early days, like in everybody else, was doing imitation music, which is natural. We all do that. And that song influenced him so much that Chris Blackwell heard that it was that song. All he did was change some things. But there's no way he can release that because that's suit. The right thing. But it does speak to the fact that how powerful that influence was. In the old days, there was hardly any difference. If you hear the pre version of Country Jungle that you all know, you might not tell the difference between that and a recording by Curtis Mayfield and the Impression. I can tell you that. If you search for Concrete Jungle on YouTube, find the pre-version that you don't know. And you might not be able to tell it. You'll probably think that it's Curtis Mayfield and the Impression that was singing. In my opinion, if you were to put the two of them behind a curtain in the old days, you can't tell the difference. I've done a paper on the evolution of the music and looking at those things. There are 3 stages, people. Imitation, assimilation, and innovation. Bob Marley and Wailers reached the innovation stage. And after that ended, the music went back to where? Imitation. That's where it is right now. It is hell and high water to get to that stage. And it's a lot of work. And a lot of work that most people are not willing to put in. Alright? A lot of people have to realize that. If you can tell me how many bands in Jamaica you thought were at the innovation stage, I can tell you some things about them. Third World never got there. Chalice never got there. They were stuck at imitation. Some of the greatest bands in Jamaica, none of them. Burning Spear might be there. Because he has his thing on his voice and his style. Yes. Alright? It's a simple style. Bob Marley was the most sophisticated of all of them. Alright? And beyond that, not much. Bunny Wailer, yes. But Bunny Wailer never had his band sound that was fixed. He kept changing bands. Black Heart Man is one of the greatest albums in the world as far as I'm concerned. Peter Tosh, yes, but his recordings were not as great as his live stuff. Alright? The creativity wasn't there as much.
Culture.
Culture, yes, I think culture is up there with the Burning Spear, but not at the same level as Bob Marley and Wailers. Alright? So all of these things are affecting and will affect what we do. Nowadays, this pre-production of stuff and everybody's writing songs to tracks is not the same as writing a song and then putting the tracks to it. Family Man could not make up a bass line without hearing the song. And them saying we take all day to find a bass line. But see, when you find the bass line, and he's down on the record as being one of the greatest bass players in the world by Miles Davis. Kind of take one song with one chord and come up with 3 different bass lines that speaks to the song nowadays. Nowadays you gotta record so the man that fly the track from the beginning to the end. The end of a song and the beginning of a song can't be the same. You can't fly the first part to the end because you know make sense. Bob Marley never did that. If you listen to Waiting in Vain, you hear Bob Marley, I am singing the background vocal. The I3s were not flown into England to record the background vocal. It's him. He knew all the parts. So that's the level that we're dealing with. And he played guitar fantastic. Alright, Peter Tosh played guitar. Bunny Wailer played guitar, apart among other things. So we have a musicianship level in that band which goes beyond anything that's going today. And some of those guys that are doing it today are guys that I taught. There's a band called Earth Cry that's doing their thing really nicely. I taught all those guys pretty well, right, in school. And they worked with me as well in Jamaica.
I told the prophet I tell you, say, Rastafest, set it.
So those are the things that are important that any artist here that wants the development, it is important that you go to the school of playing an instrument, a melodic instrument. Percussion is good, but you need to play a melodic instrument and play a drum. And why I say drum? Because we're Africans. And the national instrument, the heart instrument for Africans is the drum. Learn to play djembe or learn to play drums. I would say suggest a hand drum first. Alright? I went to Brazil one time and the way they run drums, man give me a drum and I didn't know how to do anything. I felt shame in the backside. So I have to learn how to play drum. I bought my son a djembe. At least now I can, can play a thing and hold a thing on it. So we need to make it a mission because you gotta be able to hold your rhythm. And in Canadian culture, it's easy to lose all of that. I'm losing my jazz chops right now because I'm not playing any jazz with the local guys. And trying to get in there with the white guys here is almost impossible. They'll leave you out. And if you're not doing your thing, and trying to get back, last year I did a Bob Marley tune at the Jazz Bistro. So the woman down there at the place locks up. And it's like, she want to kiss her ass. All the white people come in. But I understand, yes, and I don't understand. Because she's not giving our music a blight. They're still antagonistic to reggae music and to our music and culture. Even though they know that party they on every corner, so why shouldn't we be able to play reggae on every corner? Because apart from Jamaica's music is probably the most renowned and influential music from the Caribbean.
Yeah, my name is Hercules. I ain't know so we are the roots man, but we have lots of things coming for you, some good music and some good dub poetry.
Right? Party they on every corner. They have more of Jamaican food stuff. I think the people who don't come from Jamaica selling it as Jamaica. The jerk chicken shop down the road is not owned by a Jamaican, it's woman from Grenada. What do they have to sell? All due respect. Why is the Trinidad running a shop and selling jerk stuff? It's not from Trinidad, it's from Jamaica. And the same thing here, the Chinese, all the small shops are gone now because the big nation shop is selling Jamaican stuff. The little shop that we used to sell that is gone. And not only that, IKEA created some faux pas the other day. They said they must sell rice and peas and them sell rice with green beans, white rice and green beans. All that embarrassment. Who gets embarrassed by that? Who gets anything out of that? So we should be able to sell our culture in the same way, but there is a resistance. So some people here have to decide, are we going to sell ourselves as it is? If we're selling it as we do and are accustomed to in Jamaica, we're going to have a marketing issue. Are we going to sell it in a way that is palatable to Canadians? We might still have a marketing issue, but it might be easier to get in, I think, Because if you don't live in Jamaica, it's going to be hell and high water. And in Jamaica, there's another problem. Payout. And there's another problem now. People are going on the big show there, and you're paying to go on the big show. And when you go on the big show, the man that put you on so early, you're not going to back. And nothing happens after that. Nothing happens after that. No, you can't blame them, but you can't blame them because it's your. They want the big acts. People want to come to the big acts. I mean, the other day I heard that Drake got booed. So you have to also think about all of that because leading a career is a harder thing. And it affects everything here. Again, the marketing thing to me, if you want to be hardcore, this might not be the best period because people are not looking at it. I want to play some ska with my band. I have written all these songs. I played that in Jamaica when I was here. I'm looking to organize to play some ska here. There are several festivals. There's Vancouver, Montreal, and not one of them going to sound like the Scatolites. They're all playing British punk ska. I don't want to play that. That's not my thing. Jamaican music influenced all of that. But there's nothing genuinely represented. Even if I play a tribute to the Scatolites band in Toronto and play some of my original songs. But it's as if the whole culture has been desensitized to that and been sensitized to the influence music that's coming back and not the original. I mean, I have a theory now, do we go to the root and skip all the other stuff? Or do we listen to all the influences and let it affect us? So these are some of the challenges that we face as musicians. Because you want to be a hardcore thing, but you only go and preach to 10% of the 10% of the 10%. But if you find a way to communicate things, because all of the major artists are doing it, but it's not, we're not getting the thing, we're not even getting, they're taking it, but we're not, the usual thing. The white man or the colonialist comes in and takes what he wants and gets rich, and we are left with the thing. The coffee that the cocoa that we grow, it's not we make the money. The coffee that we grow is the man who at the end product, who roasts the beans. He's making 1,000 times what the grower made. The biggest reggae bands out there now, they're all the white bands, the Catch a Fire and the Revolution and the Ground Nation, they're all white bands. And they're touring. And they're making money. But I don't have any reggae band. Which reggae band do you guys know of recently? I'm still trying to find it. Who can fill up a stadium right now? I don't know of any reggae bands since Bob Marley gone. Ziggy Marley can't do it. Stephen can't do it. Which reggae act is out there? I remember reggae was also a thing which was riding on a swing. When anything hot in America, things hot in Jamaica. There ain't nothing hot going on in America right now. So we don't have anybody for tailspin on. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know if you guys can advise me otherwise. When things hot in America for a black artist, things can get hot in Jamaica for somebody. And not only because we lick over the choose them, but at least it sometimes gives a man a good ride on something. Because even if it's a cover songs have never died. If you have a hot cover song, it can save your life. At least it'll get you out there. So these are all the things that you have to think about it. And there needs to be a community base. We say that because a lot of times we have shows here and the complaint is still that not enough black people. But then if you depend on black people to show for the show, you might not get enough, right? So we have to either bypass that and leave them out, because anyone complain and say your music is not close enough for them. And then there are some other issues. So we have to decide which way we're going to show it. And if you want to go to Jamaica, there's that process that we're talking about. But fundamentally to all of this too, artists need to have a musical training. That's my mission. And sometimes hard, it doesn't care if you put the instrument down with it, but you need to have that. A greater understanding of music is essential. Then all these other things that I'm thinking about, that I'm sharing with you, that we all need to think about. And hopefully we can find a way, because there's supposed to be a market in Canada.
Careface, the CVP, the give thanks for your support today. And that note, and that's the reason why we're doing what we're doing, because we realize the problem. And when I go to Jamaica, yes, Jamaica is chaotic, as we know.
It has its problems too, but it's more opportunity.
However, as the saying goes, the boss of yard, the boss abroad.
Yes.
And it still applies. No matter who in the world is doing things, everybody go to Jamaica. Mm-hmm. Everybody go to Jamaica.
It's the Mecca.
It's the Mecca of reggae. It's chaotic as we know. Mm-hmm. There is problem as we know. Come in, have a seat. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But the boss of yard was abroad. Caswell has been honored. I know I forget the part a while ago. You've been on the trip like what, 3 times now?
Is it 3 or 4 times?
4 times, yeah, 4 times. Okay, so you have been on the trip 4 times with us as manager for the Rastafest showcase. So I was telling you about the showcase and what we've been doing. So next year will be our 5th time. So 4 times he has been on the trip. So he can share the experience there. Okay, so at this point I want to go around the room. Each person can introduce yourself. Careface, CVP, Careface Video Production, Masani Production. We give thanks for your support today.
Brought to you by CVP. Subscribe, like, comment, and let the whole world know about us.